concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Hello, it's Sunday afternoon. It's 1 p.m., at least it's 1 p.m. where I am. And this is the European Q&A stream. If you're from America, get off the stream. This is not for you. No, I'm joking. We're going to do some questions and answers. How you doing, chat? Botija FPV, FPV Arborist. Hello from Albuquerque. Albuquerque. Way easier to say Albuquerque than spell it. That's my line. That's my joke. Hello, everybody. Flybet FPV, Netmonk. Start of the evening. That's right. That's right. See, we do this in the afternoon. All the true Americans are watching football or whatever you do on a Sunday afternoon while nerds like me are sitting in their basement streaming about FPV. Michael H. Hello, Germany. Chris Higgins. FPV Freaky. Stevie Potter. Everybody. Got a cup of coffee today. Guys are always super interested in whatever I'm drinking. So, Luxembourg. Jake Allison says we're wet in STL. We are wet here as well. It's the rainy season here in Knoxville, and we are getting rain. We've had power outages. Fortunately, the morning thunderstorm has passed. I think the power will hold through my live stream. Sweden. So, yeah, we're going to do some Q&A. We're going to... have you dove into Flight 1 anymore? See, we're going to take questions like that. And just to bring you up to speed, in case you're new here, here's what I got going on. This is what I got on my main screen. I got the chat here. I'm going to be taking your questions. North Georgia. I lived in Atlanta. I went to school at Georgia Tech. I'm going to be taking your questions. basically, I'm going to just look at the chat and boom, as soon as something jumps out at me that seems like it's a good question for the live stream, I'm going to answer it. And then as soon as I finish that, boom, I do it again. That's all I'm going to do. Just keep doing that for about 2 hours. Those questions do go by super fast. And in case you want to make absolutely, like I miss more questions than I get. Oh, yeah. So in case you want to make absolutely sure that your question gets noticed, gets called out, you can give a super chat, $ here, show your support for Joshua Bardwell. You hit that $, you give a couple bucks, and you get pulled out into the super chats. You get pulled out into the super chats. And that means that basically now I'm like financially obligated to answer your question. That's what it comes down to. So I'm also going to be monitoring over here on the left this here is my Discord server. I have a Discord server for my patrons. I have a Patreon page. And one of the things I do is I check those guys. Hello, Matt. Hello, DJ Pop. I check these guys out. If they have any questions, I definitely give priority to those folks. So if you want to join up, you can. You can get in. Probably not before the end of the live stream, but maybe if you're quick, you get in there and you can ask questions there. So we'll just start the stream off with a little bit of a sad topic. So as you know, I missed Monday's live stream because my cat got injured. And unfortunately, I see some people asking in the chat saying, hey, how's your cat? Is your cat okay? Unfortunately, my cat is not okay. Unfortunately, my cat did not make it. So since you guys are wondering, we'll start with just a little, I'll show you some pictures of my cat. Cat was about 10 years old. I don't want to go into too many details about what exactly happened, but yeah, so unfortunately. But I thought what would be a nice thing to do. Hold on, I got a couple more pictures. There's a picture of her when she was younger. There's a picture of her falling in the crack of my bed. I couldn't resist taking a picture. That's a more recent picture. So, yeah. That's one of the best. I think that's one of the best pictures I've got of her. So I thought a nice thing to do would be to say that all the super chats from this stream, I'm going to donate to the Humane Society of Knoxville. Like, I don't know, just seemed like a nice thing to do. Kind of put a little positive spin on something. So anyway. Yeah, Matthew Bonafide. It was, in fact, the cat who attacked my toes during the live stream. So that was, yeah. Anyway. So yeah, all the super chats will go to the Humane Society of Knoxville. I don't know. Seemed like a nice thing to do. Rookie T, if you want the link to the Discord, I just said it. You got to go down right below the video description, and there's a link to my Patreon, and you join my Patreon, and that's how you get the link to the Discord. That's how you do it. Anyway. N8MX FPV, common talking point lately, Betaflight 4.0, not working for a lot of people. I know that Betaflight 4.0 had a lot of issues with the filters. They were too aggressive with the filters. And it caused some people to smoke their motors or their quads to try to fly away. And they changed the defaults in 4.03. 402 and 403, they should be better. It's always tough. I do think that it seems like there have been more problems with 4.0, even with the changed defaults. And part of it is just that they're trying to do something really like really aggressive. It's not the right word for it. Radical. They're trying to do something really new and different. It's not just a little change. So there's always going to be some hitches there. I do think that what you're not seeing when you hear about problems with Betaflight 4, what you're not seeing is a whole lot of people who have installed 4.0, let's say 4.02 or 4.03. 4.00 had a lot of problems. But a lot of people who installed 4.02 and 4.03 and are having just an amazing flight experience. My quads are flying better than they ever have. I have tweaked the filters and the settings a little bit, but I think that those people they're just putting out great flight videos, and they're not complaining loudly. So, something to say. You can still ask questions in the super chat. It's not just for donations, by the way. Good question, Cosmic FPV. Do you know if the new X-Lite Pro CNC gimbals will work with the original version? I don't know the answer to that, Cosmic FPV. It looks the same to me. It sure looks the same. I would, if I had to, like, guess, I would say yes, but I don't know for sure. Yeah. Bjorn Wienerstam, Kebab FPV claims Betaflight 4 does not support motor size 22XX that well. Do you know why? Bjorn, we talked about this in one of my previous videos, and I think what I remember is that he had specific problems with a specific motor, but it's silly to say that Betaflight doesn't support 22-sized motors. That's just, I don't even think that's what he actually said. I think that's a misunderstanding of what he said, or let's see. Is that a link to Rugi's post? That just doesn't seem like that's what he said. No. So it doesn't make sense to me. So I want to show you guys real quick. I had the chance to fly this quad. This is the, oh, it's right here. How isn't that nice? Almost as if I prepared. This is obviously a Diatone, and you're thinking this is the Diatone 349, but it's not. This is the Diatone 369. I reviewed the Diatone. There's so many Diatones, and they all have these numerical names that may confuse you. I reviewed the 239, I think it was, which was the soft frame, the soft plastic durable frame, and I found that it didn't fly very well for me, and I didn't like it very much. And so many people have been saying, you got to try the 349, that this little guy here is amazing. And I've wanted to do it. And Diatone reached out to me and said, well, actually, this is the 369. 349 is 4-cell. So what's the 369? It is 6-cell. This is a 6S 1408 2800 kV motors. Basically the same thing as the 349, but 6-cell. You run it on like an 850 milliamp hour 6S battery. And I was like, okay. Let me give you guys a little bit of a flight teaser. I am really impressed with it. Hold on a second here. I gotta mute this because there's no audio. It's just a DVR. Check this out. This is a, oh, this is a 7-minute video. Hold on. Where's the actual flying start? Hold on. I want to show you guys this because the real reason, well, I'll talk while you watch the flight. There's no audio because it's DVR. The real reason I want to show you this is I like Diatone as a company. I like the quads they make. And like the last 2 quads they've sent me, there's been something wrong with them and I haven't liked them. And I've always felt bad. So I've like been looking for the opportunity to say something good about Diatone again. And this definitely is it. This quad flies really well. Just really fun to fly. Fast. I mean, this is just like one little, this is not a rigorous test flight. So I was really impressed with it. A really good flight time, I thought. Good handling. I did find myself wondering if the point of 6S is that you have less sag and more torque. Is 6S really needed on these little quads? And that's a question that I think still needs some investigation. Because the smaller quads have less voltage sag anyway because they just pull less current. Then again, the batteries are smaller. I don't know. I feel like this is a question that needs some investigation. I guess a side-by-side of the 349 and the 369 would kind of be in order. But smaller motors also have problems with torque, and so they have poor prop wash handling, and so maybe the additional torque or the higher voltage would be good? I don't know. I want to show you guys this because, yeah, there's some flying, you know, just flying around, whatever. It looks like a quad flying. It flies okay. Good hardware. I like the Diatone hardware. It uses an actual TBS Unify VTX, not some cheap, crappy VTX. But then here's how this flight ends. Oh, here's some. Oh, that's actually kind of nice little proximity flying. Yeah, get in there, Joshua. Get in there. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at my dirty patio. The pool is clean though, you guys. I know you're very concerned with my pool. A little ziggy-zaggy. But here's how the flight ends. All right, hang on. Let me find it. Oh! I'll do that again in slow motion. Yeah, so the camera is the Foxier Predator. It's the newest Foxier Predator. I have not in the past liked the Foxier Predators very much, but this one looks pretty good. I mean, this was really a worst case scenario for the Predator. Because just coming right into the low sun like that, what could you do? Who knows if another camera would have done better. And I just tried to use the Force. I was just like, I think I know where the birdhouse is. Well, turns out I didn't. I misjudged it. And people are always asking, do you ever hit that birdhouse? Today's the day. There are birds in here, too. Oh, okay. Alrighty. But it was fine. No harm done. No harm done. Anyway, that is the Diatone GTR69. It was sent to me by Diatone as a test. I have got a couple packs on it. Now, what I want to know is it actually out yet? 369. Is it available? I don't even know if it's... Yeah, it is. It's available. Andy RC has reviewed it. Yeah. Looks like it's about $200. Anyway, all right. So I just wanted to, ping that. Let's do some questions. Jeremy Sarge wants to know, have you seen the R2 Tech Next G2? It's a 720p zero latency digital link, supposedly. Why don't we have a digital link that's worth a crap yet? I have. Let me just... Next G1. Let me just pull up a page here. FPV model has it for sale for $339. R2 Tech actually sent me one of these. I've been testing it for the last couple of weeks, and I just recently mailed one to Drone Mesh to do latency testing on it because I'm not set up with the hardware to do latency testing. They say it's zero latency, but obviously it can't be zero latency. It has to be like some milliseconds of latency. The question is, how much latency is it and how usable is it? However, so I will be doing a review of this and I will be testing it. Right now, the main thing I'm waiting on is the mail to take it over to Drone Mesh for him to do the latency testing. We're going to release our videos together. Why don't we have a digital link that's worth a crap yet? That's a good question. The reason is that what we're doing with digital FPV video is very hard. I have a video I put out. Why high definition digital FPV is nearly impossible. I'm going to paste that into the chat for you. And I'm not going to do, it's a 9-minute video. I'm not going to do the whole 9-minute spiel. But the real answer is it's hard to do what we're doing. We need low latency. We need good image quality. We need it to be light. We need it to be cheap. We need everything all at once, and it's very difficult to do. It turns out that for what we need, analog video is actually a really good solution. It has shit image quality, but it has low latency, it's lightweight, it's small, it's cheap to replace when we break it. It just turns out that we care more about these other things than we care about image quality. However, I'm looking forward to testing this RT Tech Next G1 system, but people are telling me that no other than DJI is working on an FPV system, a high definition FPV system. Specifically, you're thinking, oh, the goggles, the DJI goggles RE with the OcuSync. No. I tested that. I tested the DJI OcuSync system. The latency it was flyable, barely, but not good. No. Now, I haven't seen it. And if I had seen the DJI system, then I'd be under NDA and I couldn't talk about it. So since I haven't seen it, I can't tell you anything about it, but I can tell you anything about it because I'm not under NDA. And I can tell you, I've asked people who are under NDA, so I won't tell you who they are. I've asked people, no, really, come on, is this for real? And they're like, it's kind of for real. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, it's super big and heavy, right? And they're like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, it's super expensive? And they're like, it's not as expensive as you think. And I'm like, so has somebody finally come out with a digital FPV high definition system that's worth a damn? And they're like, maybe. And I just want to be clear, I'm talking about the hypothetical rumored DJI FPV system, not the Next G1 RC2 Tech system, which which I'm still working on a review of. So maybe DJI has finally done it. I don't know. I don't know yet. Maybe someday someone will send me one and I'll be able to find out. Ricky White, what if I told you a long-distance, low-latency, encrypted, frequency-hopping, high-def video solution is in existence, but the proprietor doesn't see FPV as a large enough market? Exactly, Ricky White. Like, there are zero latency. Who is it? It's Black. Who is it? Who makes it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the company. There's a company that makes a zero latency 1080 HDMI system for like video production, for like television and other kind of video production. Yeah, it's this freaking big and it weighs a kilogram or whatever. It's no good for quads. The technology exists. It's just getting someone to adapt the technology to FPV is no good because we're such a small market. Okay. Kuritsuki777 wants to know if I've seen the X9 Lite Pro on Banggood with Hall gimbals. Yeah, so there's the, let's see if I can find it for you guys. I just did the review of the X9 Lite and the X Lite Pro. And on let's just go to Banggood. Yeah, here it is. On Banggood, they've got an X9 Lite Pro, which confuses the hell out of me because we've got the X9 Lite, we've got the X Lite Pro, now we've got the X9 Lite Pro, and of course there's the X9D and the X9D SE, and but anyway, so this is the X9 Lite, but it seems like Banggood or Urivi has stuck Hall effect gimbals in it. I think these are the X7 gimbals. Somebody told me that the X7 gimbals fit into it. I think this is not actually a FrSky product. This is like a third party, an OEM product of some, not OEM. What's the, like when somebody takes a car and then they tune it up, right? This is like a third party product. But yeah, for $109, I got to tell you, oh, wrong window. Sorry. I got to tell you guys, the X Lite Pro or the X9 Lite at a price of about $70 is a heck of a good starter radio. And one of the things to not like about it is the gimbals are, but at the price of $70, what do you want? You stick some Hall effect gimbals in the X9 Lite and charge $110. I would take this over a QX7 all day. The only thing that you really got to hesitate on a FrSky radio today is if you're thinking about running Crossfire. If you're thinking about running Crossfire, it's going to, obviously, that doesn't have a JR module bay, and who knows if they've done the inverter nerf. So, but if you're not thinking about running Crossfire, if you just want a 2.4 gig system, that's a heck of a radio at $70. So, okay. Got some super chats coming in. Let's see. Let me just scroll back through the other chat. See Joe, look up underwear on Banggood. No, we're not doing that. Suffice it to say, they sell all kinds of things on Banggood, not just RC things. .NET Russell says I was having bad motor vibrations. I needed anti-vibration standoffs. You definitely need to soft mount the flight controller. Always. Teradek, Drone Excursion, thank you. Teradek is the company I was trying to find that has the 1080 Teradek. Yeah, the 1080 wireless devices. Yeah, the Bolt Pro. Yeah. Just to recap that, Teradek Bolt wireless 1080 60 SDI monitoring no longer available. Oh well. Yeah. So it's big, it's heavy, and it costs like $1,000. But you can do it. It's a real challenge. If DJI has done it, they've really done something impressive. Jumper T16. Any word on it actually being released and when? Mike, Alexa, Jumper T16 is out. It's just the shipments. What you really need to do is ask your favorite vendor when they expect to get a shipment in. Some vendors are not carrying it anymore because you'd have to ask them, but most likely because FreeSky told them that FreeSky would cut them off if they carried it. So some vendors may still be carrying it. And you have to ask them when it'll be in stock. That's what you got to do. Only they know. Please answer Stephen Rossi's question about 2150 kV. Where is that? Let's look for that. Stephen Rossi. Where are you, Stephen? Oh. Saw your black box logs on the Facebook group regarding the 6S 2150 kV. Given what we learned from that, now you've had a couple weeks to fly it. What's your stance on 2150 kV now? Stephen, that's tough. It's tough to overcome the momentum of what you've been doing for so long. I mean, I didn't throw out... So just as a recap, I tested... the Holybro Copus 2 Rotor Riot Special Edition, which has the 2150 kV Stinger Swarm motors. By the way, Stinger Swarm shirt today. And I was surprised to find that on 4S, 5S, and 6S, it flew pretty good. And actually, I concluded that the best way to fly this quad might be to run it on 6S, so you don't have to carry 3 different sets of batteries. Run it on 6S and just use a throttle curve, a throttle limit because on 6S it was just gut-wrenchingly fast, but also just destroyed batteries, right? But if you want to just go really fast in a straight line, it was there. But if you wanted more control for proximity flying, you could just turn the throttle curve down. And I was like, maybe we should just all switch to 6S 2150 kV, or maybe 2000, or maybe 1900. But my point was that there was no downside to sort of running 6S 2150 kV with a 60% throttle curve to kind of get 4S-like performance. I haven't switched all my quads over. Obviously, I have a lot of quads on 2400 kV 4S, so I still think that is definitely worth exploring. And if I were starting from scratch today, if I were going to build 3 new quads, I might think about doing it that way. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go to the Super Chats. We got a bunch of Super Chats coming in. As a reminder, we're donating all the Super Chats from today's session to the Humane Society of Knoxville in memory of my cat, which unfortunately died this week. Let's see. There are a bunch of Super Chats coming in from people just donating and sending condolences. I'm not going to call each of those out just because that would be kind of sad. But thank you guys for your donations. I'm going to get the questions, though. Firefly, thank you for $20. I need glasses only for reading and can't quite focus in Fat Shark goggles. The diopters are for nearsighted only. What are my options? Firefly, the focal distance of the Fat Shark goggles is approximately 6 feet. So as you're thinking about what they will look like, don't think the fact that the screens are literally like an inch from your eyes. Their lenses inside that make the focal. So if you can focus at 6 feet-ish, you'll probably be okay with Fat Sharks. If you need reading glasses to focus at that distance, then obviously the standard diopters won't work for you because they're for nearsighted, not farsighted. What I would suggest you do is reach out to one of the companies that makes custom diopters. Optic Fisher is one. One is RHO Lens. Those are the 2 that I feel comfortable recommending. And just say, here's my prescription. What do you recommend for me? These guys, that's what they do day in and day out. And I guarantee you, I mean, I know for a fact, because you're not the first person to ask this, the question, what should I do if I want to wear Fat Sharks and I have reading glasses? They will know the answer and they'll be able to tell you what you should do. Okay? Free wants to know if I'll be at MultiGP I/O this coming weekend. The answer to that was no. However, Drew called me up and said, we're thinking about getting a camper and driving from Orlando up to IO, doing a road trip. Do you want us to swing through Knoxville and pick you up? And I was like, how could I say no to that? So it looks like me, Drew, Jeff, I don't know who else is coming in the camper, but me, Drew, and Jeff at least are going to be in a camper coming to IO, so we will be there. Buy your tickets now. All right, continuing the super chats. Arctiplex, thank you for $5. What would the range difference be between using the TBS Nano VTX and the Nano Crossfire versus the TBS Race HV and Crossfire Diversity for freestyle and light mountain runs? Okay, let me break this down. You got the Nano VTX and Nano Crossfire versus the Race HV and the Crossfire Diversity. So let's start with the VTXs, and let's just check the specs here. TBS Crossfire, Crossfire Nano VTX? Yeah, Unify Pro Nano. What I want to know is basically the output power of this guy. I think it goes up to 400 milliwatts, but let's just double check. No, the Nano only goes up to 50 milliwatts. Okay, so the max output power on the Nano is going to be 50 milliwatts, whereas the Race HV goes to 200. So right there, that right there is a big difference. The difference between 50 milliwatts and 200 milliwatts is 50, 100, it's 6 dB. That's a doubling. So rule of thumb is a 6 dB difference. In other words, you multiply the output power by 4. That's a 6 dB approximate difference. That's an approximate doubling of range. So whatever range you get at 50 milliwatts, go to 200 milliwatts, and all else being equal, you'll get twice the range. In real world, there's other factors that come into play, but that's a rule of thumb. So when you're trying to think about, well, if I go from 25 to 50 milliwatts, how much difference will there be? Not that much. But as a rule of thumb, the difference between 50 and 200 will certainly be noticeable. So for cruising, mountain cruising, for sure. I mean, for mountain cruising, I'd want as much output power as I could get, just because when you lose it in the mountains, you're done. And then as far as the TBS Nano Crossfire versus the Crossfire Diversity, again, if I was doing like mountain runs, I might want diversity. But the flip side of that is that if you're within a couple kilometers, the standard Crossfire Nano receiver should just have 99% RSSI forever. Well, so my rule of thumb is that the diversity receiver is probably not needed if you're doing typical freestyle stuff where you're within a couple kilometers. A lot of people who use Crossfire are still using, so here's the thing, if you've got a 200 milliwatt video transmitter, you probably don't need the diversity on your Crossfire, because how far is that 200 milliwatts going to get you? 2, maybe 3 kilometers, best case, unless you're doing some like high gain antennas and stuff. But if you just got a couple omnis on your goggles, that 200 milliwatt VTX is not going to get you out far enough to where the Crossfire is even going to be breaking a sweat. So I probably wouldn't bother with the diversity Crossfire receiver, but I would probably go with the Race or even the regular HV with the 800 milliwatt out. I would want, if you're racing and the race organizer says you cannot go over 25 milliwatts, okay. But for freestyle, I just want all the output power I can get. So let's see here. Whiplash FPV, thank you for $5. No question. Just Josh Feltz, have I given up hope on the JB1S storage charger? I kind of have, Josh, I'm sorry to say. Unfortunately, I guess so I was talking about, this is my idea, don't you steal my idea, no, it's not like that. I had the idea that it would be nice to have a Whoop battery charger that had a storage mode, because none of them do. And what happens is that all of the time, our Tiny Whoop batteries are either fully charged or discharged, and that means that, they already die faster than they need to, but they're dying even faster. So why doesn't somebody make a freaking Tiny Whoop? And I was like, I've talked to a couple of companies that had the manufacturing chops to do it, and one reason or another, it has never worked out. I would love to help with the development of that. I would love to just give someone the idea and have them make it and put my name on it, and take a commission for having the idea. But it just haven't been able to find anybody to do it. So it unfortunately does. I haven't given up hope, but I definitely have not been able to find anybody to actually do it. All right. A couple more super chats we'll just catch up with. Mad Max Z, thank you for £5. As the only person I can talk to that has even laid eyes on a pair, would you advise someone to buy the Orca goggles? Here's the thing. The Orca goggles look amazing. But what you got to ask yourself right now is, how long will it be till you can have one? So if you didn't already buy into the Kickstarter, they said, I had a surgeon from Orca on my live stream last week. You can go watch last week's live stream and you can see an interview. I did about a half-hour interview with him. He said they are on track to ship their first batch in, I think he said August. But that's the first batch of whatever 100 for the Kickstarter, however many. If you didn't get in on the Kickstarter, how long will it be till you can actually buy one from like a vendor like Get FPV or Race Day Quads? The answer, it's out there. So if you're buying today, it's just not an option. And if you say to yourself, well, I'm willing to wait, how long are you willing to wait? Because it's kind of up in the air how long it'll be before they're actually in stores. So there you go. They look nice. They really do look nice. It's a big, crisp screen. I feel very comfortable saying it's the best looking screen that is available for FPV goggles today. I've no problem saying that. It's got all the sort of image quality, clarity of the HDOs, but a much bigger, higher resolution and edge-to-edge crisp. So it's a great viewing experience. The other thing I would have to say is, like, Fat Shark dropped 3 goggles just this last couple weeks. They dropped the Attitude V5, they dropped the Scout, and the Recon V3. Okay. Did you notice anything missing from that list? When people heard that Fat Shark was going to drop a new set of goggles, they were like, oh, here it is. It's the Orca killer. And then Fat Shark, crickets. It's not like Fat Shark doesn't know Orca is. It's not, let me put it this way. It's not like Fat Shark. If you were Fat Shark and you saw the Orca Kickstarter raise whatever, $400,000 in 3 days or whatever it did. See, when I interviewed Greg French in January of 2018, and I went to their factory and I interviewed him, and he said, maybe someday we'll make a $700 goggle. Maybe there's a market for it. I don't know. His point was not, we don't want to make this goggle. It's just, we don't want to make this goggle and then have nobody buy it. Now, if you're Fat Shark, if you're Greg French and you see that Kickstarter, you see where I'm going? Like, it makes sense that Fat Shark would notice that, and then Fat Shark would not just go, well, I guess that's it. Nothing we can do. So, if you're thinking about buying an Orca, I think you got to wonder if you wait, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Wait till the day that you see an Orca for sale at Get FPV or Race Day Quads. And then, see, I don't know. Is Fat Shark going to drop something? It seems like, you see, I don't know. Anyway. There you go. I should say, I don't know anything. I shouldn't say that, because then when I... Remember a couple weeks ago when I was like, if you're thinking about buying goggles, wait till the end of this week, because I knew that Fat Shark was going to drop these new goggles, and I thought you might want to wait and do a little comparison. This is not that. I don't know anything. This is just me looking at sort of reading the tea leaves and going, well, the Orca Kickstarter raised hundreds of thousands of dollars instantly. If I was Fat Shark, I'd want a piece of that. I wouldn't want to just seed the market. So we'll see. Anyway, there you go, Mad Max. There's your answer. How's it going over in the Discord? We're 40 minutes. I haven't even looked at the Discord. All my patrons are over here just having a good time, really. Mr. Bigglesworth, is a ground station worth it? Which one to buy? Mr. Bigglesworth, here's the advantage of a ground station. You know how when you're flying and you're like, go like this and like that, and you're like, and your antennas aren't aimed the right direction? Ground station fixes that. The big advantage of a ground station is that your antenna orientation is always exactly how you need it to be. So I always put Omni antennas on my goggles. Where are my goggles? Here they are. I always put Omni antennas on my goggles because I don't want to have to think about orientation. Okay. These are, by the way, the new Axie V2 antenna, Luminaire Axie. Thank you, Luminaire. I'll be doing a little bit of a video about these. Very nice little... Everybody has started putting these little stubby antennas on for smaller size. And yes, they get worse reception, but if you're using something like rapid fire, it kind of still plenty good reception. And I like Omnis because the orientation of my head is not guaranteed to be consistent. So when I drop my head like this, I don't want to suddenly get into the null of an antenna. If you put a patch, let's say you put a patch on your goggles, and then you go like this, well, you're not using it. It's a waste. It's just pointed down to the ground. So that's an advantage of the ground station. But I got to tell you, like, we need a ground station you can stick a rapid fire in. I guess the closest thing to that is like the TrueD X or the Dot King, the TrueD Dot King, which you can stick a TrueD in. Like, none of the ground stations have the best, except for Clearview, I guess. Clearview ground station, but it's pretty expensive. But all of the sort of more accessibly priced ground stations don't have kind of the best cutting edge technology because that's just not where the development is going. So let's see here. What's the best soft mount on flight controllers that have M3 holes? You can't get the gummy in them. Smertrius, if you can't get the gummy into your flight controller, take some dental floss and wrap the dental floss around the gummy, pass the dental floss through the hole, and it'll kind of pull it through. That's the easiest way to do that. Recommendations for a 1S charger that can take 24 volt input. Chipco, I don't know about that, my friend. 24 volt. Most of the 1S chargers I know go up to like 4S, 5S. I guess some of them take 6S, and that is technically 24 volts. Like, not off the top of my head, though. I'd have to do some Googling, but you can do some Googling, too. Robin wants to know, what's the difference between biquad and PT1? Because I get cooler motors on PT1. So here's the difference. What we're talking about here is in the Betaflight filters tab, you can change the filter type from biquad to PT1. When you think about a filter is a roll-off of the frequencies. As you get to higher frequencies, it attenuates them more. A biquad filter has twice the attenuation as a PT1. So, can we even find a biquad versus PT1? Oh, Oscar Leong has a... You going to show me a picture, though, Oscar? No, he doesn't. Let's search for images. Yeah, here we go. Biquad versus... No. There we go. So here is a graphical representation of a biquad versus a PT1 filter. Oh, from the Betaflight wiki. Brilliant. Hang on. Now I've lost my picture. Open image in new tab. There we go. And what you get, both of these are have the cutoff frequency at 100 hertz. And what that means is that at 100 hertz, you have 3 dB of attenuation. That's how these filters work. When you set the cutoff frequency, the filter is scaled so that it has 3 dB of attenuation, basically half the signal energy at that frequency. But you can see that the biquad is much steeper, right? So the PT1 is a much shallower cut. And it at 200, let's say 200 hertz, the biquad is at negative 14 dB, whereas the PT1 is at like negative 6 dB. So the biquad is a much sharper roll-off and has more attenuation of high-frequency noise. So then you might ask the question, well, why don't we just use the biquad? I mean, wouldn't the best filter be one that just goes like a brick wall filter, they call it, just like zoom, And the problem is that the steeper the filter, the more attenuation you get. The more latency you get, sorry. The more latency you get. So a PT1 filter will have less latency, but also less attenuation of high frequency noise. A biquad is going to have more attenuation, but also more latency. But it's not actually that simple, because if you look at guys like Mark Spatz, UAV Tech on YouTube, what they'll do is they'll switch from biquad to PT1, but then they'll also change the cutoff. So you could say a biquad at a 200 or a PT1 at 100. And so there's ways to play around with the latency and the cutoff to get good results, but you really have to do some math. You know, pull out a spreadsheet and look at the results. Now, the question I have for you is, Robin says you get cooler motors on PT1, which is interesting because PT1 has less attenuation, all else being equal. So I would not expect you to get cooler motors on PT1, but weird shit happens. Chamber, you do not have to mod the X9D for Crossfire. Only the X7 has to be modded, and the X10, maybe the X12, but I'm not sure, and not many people are running that. The X9D, you can just stick Crossfire in and you're good. Alrighty, back to the regular chat. Super chat here. Martin K wants to know, for a beginner, used Fat Shark Dom V2 V3 or Skyo 2C? That is a tough one, Martin K. I made a post. Hang on a second. I made a post. One second here. Let me find this. View this post. Yeah. So I made a post over on my Patreon, and talked about whether you should get the Attitude V5, Dom V3, etc. And one of the things, hang on one second. Is this a public post? Is this patrons only? Can I share? Let me just check in a. Oh, it is. It's public. Okay. Yeah. So what I say here is that. Here, down at the end, I think the between the goggles in this test, which are the EV200D, the SkyZone Skyo 2X, the Commander V1S, I think the Skyo 2X and the Attitude V5 have some of the best image quality. One of those two are going to come out on top. Like, for example, if you decide that what you really want is to run rapid fire, well, then obviously the SkyZone is not for you. But if you want kind of an all-in-one package, I think the SkyZone has a richer feature set than the Attitude. Yeah. The EV200D excels in image size, and the image is pretty good looking, but what stands out most about the EV200D is the big image. And then the real question that you asked, Martin, is Fat Shark Dom V2 V3 or the Skyo 2C? If you can find a Dominator, you said Dom V3. That's a tough one. If you can find a Dominator HD3 that for about, say, $350 or less, that is, I think, a used, good condition Dominator HD3 for about $300 would be my pick for like the single best value goggle you could get today. Now, the Dominator HD3 is end of life, and you might find them somewhere new for $400, and I still think that's compelling, but maybe not just a slam dunk. But a Dominator HD3 for about $300 used in good condition is a slam dunk right now. What about the Dom V3? The Dom V3 has similar screen size, resolution, and aspect ratio to the SkyZone. The SkyZone has a built-in module. I think it would depend on the price. I know not everybody agrees with me on this, but for me, the after-sales support of Fat Shark really puts them over the top. And the ability to run rapid fire, which not everybody has the budget for. But for me, a set of Dom V3 with rapid fire in it would just be no-brainer. Just depends on the price, though. I have to say a lot of people will prefer the Skyo 2 because it is a really good-looking image. It just and it's a nice all-in-one package. Chris Edwards, could the rapid fire be adapted to work with a ground station? Yes, absolutely. Fat Shark modules just output an AV signal. In fact, you can literally just yank the module out of the goggles, and there's one pin that's ground, there's one pin that's 5 volts, and there's one pin that's video. If you just solder a wire to those pins, or you make some kind of a pin header, you can feed that into an RCA connector and feed it into a screen. You absolutely could do that. Okay. Aerial Imagery 321, thank you for $10 in the super chat. As a reminder, everybody, the super chats from this live stream are going to be donated to the Humane Society of Knoxville in memory of my cat, who passed away this week. Aerial Imagery 321, thank you for $10. I can't get my Mobula 7 to connect to Betaflight. All I can do is hit the boot button and change the software. Okay, so Aerial Imagery 321, if you can flash it, that's good news. It means your drivers are working, right? Your USB cable is good. The number one thing that you and Aerial Imagery goes on to say, my Hawk 5 connects to Betaflight with no problems. Good. That means definitely your drivers everything's working except your flight controller is effed up. So probably what happened, Aerial Imagery, is you flashed the wrong firmware to the board. So let me just, this I can do really easily. Let me just pull this up. So if we go to the firmware flasher here, you need to choose a board. Come on. And for the Mobula 7, the board is the, there's so many of them. It's one of these Crazy Bee boards, but I don't know which one off the top of my head. But I do, hang on, I have a Mobula. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. I have a Mobula right here, so I'm going to tell you the answer. So I'm going to plug my Mobula 7. Is this a Mobula 7 or the HD? Mobula 7, okay. I'm going to plug my Mobula in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. Now this is the part you can't do. Come on. There we go. I'm going to go in the CLI and I'm going to type version. And it says version Betaflight Crazy Bee F3 FR. That is the info you need. Crazy Bee F3. Okay. So then, and guys, listen, before you flash, when you get a new quad and you're like, oh, I'm going to upgrade, the very first thing you do before you flash, please make a habit out of this. You'll save yourself so much heartache. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the CLI and type diff all, and then you're going to save that to a file, okay? And put that somewhere. Put it on your Dropbox. Put it on your OneDrive. Put it on your, put it somewhere. And then later, when you forget what target do I need to flash, you'll know. And also, when you upgrade and then you're like, what UART is my receiver on? How do I set up the LEDs? That's all in there. Okay, so before you, when you get a brand new quad, the very first thing you do is do that. Okay, so anyway, Crazy Bee F3 FR. That is the Aerial Imagery 321. So what you need to do, Aerial Imagery, is this. You need to go to the firmware flasher, choose Crazy Bee F3 FR, reflash it, and I bet it will connect after you do that. Mike Patriot 996 says, I've been told not to learn in angle mode and to learn in acro mode. Oops, it's Alex. Switch over to my head camera, please, Alex. Alex still here. Did not get fired after last week's mess up. Would it be appropriate to learn with reduced rates, or is there another way to tame things a bit for learning to fly? Mike, what I suggest you do, this is not the sexy answer, but what I suggest you do, Mike, if you're learning acro, is learn in the simulator first. It's not cool, but let's face it, we're just nerds wearing computer screens on our faces. Nothing about this is cool. So practice in the simulator. When you get to the point where you feel confident in the simulator, you then transition to the real world and it'll actually be super easy. Definitely do start with lower rates. You can turn the rates down to about 300 or 400 degrees per second, but I don't actually think you should need like a crutch like acro trainer mode, which limits how far you can go in acro mode. Just practice in the simulator, get your first 200 crashes out of the way, Get 3 or 4, for many people, it'll be 3 or 4 hours in the simulator. And you go, I don't want to be in the simulator. I want to be out in the sun, but flying in real life. I get that. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But you progress so much faster in the simulator, at least in the beginning, because think about what happens when you're first learning to fly. You take off. 3 seconds later, you crash. You got to walk over to your quad, turn it over. You broke a prop. Change a prop. In the simulator, you crash. You just hit reset. You go again. You just progress so much faster in the simulator in the beginning because you can get your stick time in and your crash has no consequences. And learning to fly involves a lot of crashing at first. Eventually, you get to a point where the simulator is not accurate enough to help you progress anymore. You need to be flying a real quad after you start. But if you just practice in the sim until you start to get confident, you'll be fine in real life. You won't need to do any special things like acro trainer mode or whatnot. Okay. I will say this. I have tutorials on how to fly. They're okay. I think they're pretty good, but they were made a long time ago, and the production quality is pretty poor. I've actually been pointing people towards Velocidrone's tutorials lately. Velocidrone has a playlist of like 30. Where's the playlist link? There's no freaking playlist link. Velocidrone, you got to put the playlist link in the freaking, see here. Velocidrone has a tutorial series that's really pretty good. And I think it's actually maybe better than mine. Well, I think it's better than mine. Like, I really like my outline, but my production quality is really crap. I made it, to be fair, I made it like 3 years ago before I had any production at all. So. Cobra wants to know suggested. Hang on. Chris Edwards. I contacted Fat Shark a few weeks ago about having a secondhand pair of goggles repaired. I never received a reply. Chris Edwards, I have heard a couple people say this, and I'm really mystified. Chris, how did you Chris, will you email me or message me privately, because I might miss you in the live stream? I wonder, like, if you every time I've emailed support@fatshark.com, I get a response within maybe 6 hours, 12 hours easily, certainly 24 hours. They have, there's a dude in Australia, there's a dude in America, and it's not just because I'm a YouTuber. Like, they just are really responsive. So I wonder if, like, did you go through their website and their contact form is messed up? Because so if there are people who are trying to contact Fat Shark and not getting through, I think Fat Shark has something screwed up in their system, and they want to know about it. So will you please contact me and let's figure out what happened. Let's track it down. Okay. There was a question about motors for 6-inch long-range cruising. Well, I think for 6-inch props, you're going to want at least a 2306 sized motor. When you get up to 7 or 8-inch props, you really benefit from a little bit larger motor. For 6-inch, a 2306 is fine. For cruising, I would probably lean more towards a 2306 than like a 2207. I think the wider motor is going to give the kind of throttle curve you want for cruising with more low-end precision. And as far as KV goes, you would want to bring the KV down. For cruising, you want lower KV for longer flight times, and you don't need that sort of massive full throttle poppiness. So I think I would be like, for 4S, I would be looking at like maybe 23 for 6-inch props. Maybe I'd be looking at like 2200-ish KV. Maybe 21 even KV. Maybe get a 5S focused motor, like a 2306, 2150, and run that on 4S. If you're going to be running 6S, you have a little bit more latitude. In my experience, it's easier to get away with running higher KV on 6S and just taking the throttle curve down. So you could say 6S 1900 KV on 6-inch props and then just set yourself to a 50% or 60% throttle curve. So Yeah, those are some suggestions. I'm not. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, there's Hate Eternal Maver says, my very first tries were in the DRL sim. All of the simulators have a training mode. Velocidrone's training mode is these YouTube tutorials, which I think are pretty good. DRL has a built-in training mode, which is, I think, pretty good. And Liftoff has a training mode, but I think it's the weakest training mode of all the three. Liftoff's training mode is basically you watch. It's not as granular. So Liftoff's training mode, you watch a video and they're like, do this. And then they give you a track and you kind of have to fly through the flags or the gates, but I think it's the weakest of the three. Okay. How are we doing over here? Super chat. Got a couple super chats coming in. No questions really. Just a couple more donations for the Humane Society. Morg59 says, I want to have some goggles to hand off to spectators and people that walk up wondering what I'm doing. Would it be better to get a box goggle or normal goggles for this purpose? Morg, that's a tough one. I mean, a screen is really the best because anyone can look at a screen. And in fact, multiple people can look at a screen. That I think a really cool thing to do if you want to be an ambassador for the hobby is anytime you're flying, I mean, obviously if you have the money and the inclination, get like a little 7-inch LCD screen, put it on a tripod next to you, and just have it right there so that when somebody walks up and they can just glance at what you're doing. It also immediately, because like sometimes people walk up and they're like, oh, that's so cool, and that's great. But sometimes people walk up and they go, are you looking at me? Are you spying on my children? And if you've got a screen right there, it kind of diffuses that. Well, unless they're just insane, which sometimes they are. So I think a screen. The problem with a screen, of course, is that in a sunny environment, it's going to get washed out. If you want to have goggles to hand off to spectators, the problem with like Fat Shark style goggles is they don't work at all with people with glasses. Whereas a box goggle, like most box goggles, you can sort of hold them up to your face with glasses. And so I think a box goggle is going to be a little bit more universal and also cheaper. So I would have to say box goggles. Yeah. Let's see here. Ted Ingalls points out, yeah, good point, Ted. The EV800D is both a box goggle and a view screen. It pops out. And that's also true of many other box goggles like the FXT Viper. It'll go on a tripod or it'll go in the goggles. The Fat Shark Recon doesn't pop out, does it? I have it over there. I'm not going to get up and get it. So, yeah, Samson lost when I say throttle curve. I do mean throttle scale. A scale is just a linear curve. So, yeah. Michael Olson wants to know what's in the yellow box in the background. Aha, I wondered if someone was going to ask that. And for 20 Swedish kroners, I think. For 20 kroners, I guess I'll show you. Hold on. What's in the box? So this is... I'm making a video about this. This is a little charging box. How about that? Oh my God. Random FPV. The bots are here. Random, if you catch it, just hide user on this channel, okay? Thank you, Random, if you're still here. Hide user on this channel. Just kill it. Yeah, so... This is, I'll get you to have another look at it. Pretty slick. Pretty slick. You like that? Not bad, huh? Let you get a look at it. I'm actually just finishing up this video. And it's, Not bad, huh? It can take battery input. It can take AC input. That is from Turtle Laboratories. Here, I'll paste the, now you saw, hold on, don't order it yet, though. Don't order this yet. I shouldn't have pasted the link because the real reason I'm doing this review is, yes, this is a cool product, but you can get a Bach grinder cutout with the Bach grinder logo on there. And I said, well, screw that. I don't want to be left out. I said, can you do the JB logo? And he said, sure. So he hasn't put the JB logo up on the website yet because I haven't released the video yet. So don't go buy this until you can order the JB logo. Because I want him to be like, wow, I sold so many more JBs than Bach grinders. And I'm going to be like, yeah, suck it. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. Best DVR in Whoop Drone. I'm not sure how to interpret that question yet. Redneck FPV. Whatever you typed in German, YouTube thinks it is a YouTube thinks it's a swear. Sau geiler Scheiße, Mann. How'd I do? I don't know what I just said. I hope it wasn't. This is it. This is my PewDiePie moment. I just said something horribly offensive without even knowing it. Let's just do a Google Translate here and find out what that means. Where's the... I should not read random strings in other languages without knowing what they say. Okay, okay, didn't seem that bad. Alrighty, moving on. William22, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I'm buying new goggles. HDO Rapid Fire for $650 or Attitude V5. The thing is, the Attitude V5 is $300. It's got a 640 by 400 screen. I don't like, I mean, obviously the higher resolution and the larger image of the larger field of view of the Rapid Fire is way better. It's way better. So, and for the long term, I mean, the Attitude V5 is a solid goggle, but I think if your budget allows you to outgrow it, you will. See what I mean? It's just definitely like I would take an HD3 with an 800 by 600 resolution and a 43 degree field of view over an Attitude V5 with the OLED screen, because the higher resolution and the bigger screen and the 4:3 aspect ratio are compelling to me. The Attitude V5 looks better, but the HD3 would beat it on all those other metrics. So, I mean, William22, what you're saying is, should I spend $650 or should I spend $450? I mean, if you have $650, then that's what you should. Obviously, you're going to get a better product. And the other thing to think about is, if you're in the hobby for the long term, you're going to trend towards, everybody trends towards better gear. Everybody starts with a $300 or a $100 set of goggles, and then as they get more into the hobby, they move up. Well, if you're at the point where the HDO is financially feasible to you at the beginning, you can save yourself some in the long run by just going ahead and bite the bullet. Okay. Dawn Shredder UK wants to know if it's worth putting capacitors on all their ESCs. I don't put capacitors on 4S quads as a matter of course. I only do it if I'm having video noise issues. For 6S, it's a good idea to have capacitors, especially if you have larger motors like F80s or the JB2407s, and especially if you're pushing higher KV. For 6S, I think a capacitor is a good idea. I still don't put it on all my quads, though, just because I'm lazy. DJ Pop points out the Eachine OTG adapter is a good choice for spectators. That is a good point. Let me just find that here. in case anybody doesn't know what that is, it's the Eachine ROTGO1. This is a little device that plugs into your cell phone with USB. It costs $15. You do have to hand your cell phone to a stranger, so maybe not the best. And I guess the battery will probably run out pretty quickly. But this is a great little spectator goggle, no doubt. I mean, theoretically, you could hand it to somebody and they could download the app, but they're probably not going to want to do that. Well, wow, it's even got like a VR mode where it splits the screen. That's cute. Yeah. ROTGO1. This is not a great, by the way, this is not a great receiver. So it's not diversity, and overall the range is not the best. But it, you know, for $15, it's a great way. $16, it's a great way to get some spectators. Cap on the ESC or just on power? Smertrius asks in the Discord. If you have individual ESCs, a smaller cap on each ESC does a much better job. Pardon me, than a single ESC on the power lead. A much better job. So yeah. If you have a 4-in-1, you don't have any options though. Random FPV, thank you for calling out this question from Twisted FPV. He flashed 403 to a Betaflight F3 and now it won't connect. Told it couldn't go over 4.0. Well, Betaflight 4.0 does support F3 flight controllers. There are some features missing, but they are supported. So you should be able to flash 4.0 to a Betaflight F3. And the Betaflight F3 target is there. So I definitely think you should be able to flash Betaflight 403 to a Betaflight F3 and connect. Yeah. I mean, when you flash the flight controller and then you can't connect, I think you flashed the wrong target. That's the #1 cause of that. That's what I would say. But once you flash the wrong target, you're kind of hosed. Because now how do you know what the right target is? This is especially true for targets like the Omnibus. There are so many different boards out there that use the Omnibus target. But it's like, is it Omnibus F4 or Omnibus F4 SD? So, it's tough. Steve Maslish, thank you for pointing out the F3 Performance Edition. You want to post a link to that, Steve, you're welcome to do that. And since you're a moderator, you can post the link, I believe. UAV Tech has been building Performance Edition F3 hexes. See, here's the thing. The F3 flight controller doesn't have enough program memory to hold all of the Betaflight code. So the Betaflight devs have taken out some features. And some people disagree with the features they take out. So, for example, you don't get some of the new PID tuning features like, I don't know, like dynamic filters. And so what UAV Tech has been doing is building Performance Edition builds of Betaflight. So, for example, you take out things like, I don't know what he takes out, but like GPS. Like instead of GPS, we're going to give you these advanced filters, and you can get those from the link that hopefully Steve will post. Yeah, Twisted FPV, if you have a config dump, make sure you're flashing the correct target. I totally agree. Good advice, Ted Ingalls. Scott Granger, what KV motors would you use on a 3S 9-inch drone? Scott, it's been so long since I flew anything with 9-inch props. I have no freaking idea, my friend. And I haven't flown 3S in a long time. No freaking idea, I'm sorry to say. Buichi FPV wants me to visit Switzerland sometime. I would love to visit Switzerland. Immersion RC is based in Switzerland. Tony Cake would take me out drinking. We'd have a wonderful time. We'd get in all sorts of trouble. And I have to say, like every country is beautiful in its own way, but whenever I see photos of the mountains and the valleys in Switzerland, I'm just like, holy shit, this is a fairy tale wonderland of a country. Just every shot from Switzerland looks like it's in a fantasy movie. Like there should be elves and dragons and shit. So Switzerland, very, very epic photos from Switzerland. Alrighty. Oh, UAV Tech is also in the chat. UAV Tech, building them Performance Edition. If you have an F3, definitely look at that. I got a super chat I've missed from Tim Mack. Tim Mack. Yes, thank you for $2, Tim Mack. Where will the hobby be in 10 years? Here's the thing, Tim. I don't know, and neither do you, and neither does anybody else. I look at, like, did you hear about Google Wing? Google Wing is recently received approval from the FAA to do beyond visual line of sight, basically drone deliveries. This is such a big development. There are rumors that DJI has a new digital high-def FPV system coming out. These rumors I think they're true, but I can't confirm that because I haven't been shown it. If I had been shown it, I'd be under NDA and I couldn't talk about it. So, but these are the kind of things that when they happen, they completely change the landscape. Let's imagine a world where for $50 for the camera, $150 for the VTX, and $500 for the goggles. Let's imagine a world where for those prices, you could get a DJI digital 1080 or 720 video system that goes 1.5 miles. It would just kill analog video. In a lot of, I mean, it would take a huge bite. It would change how we fly completely. And no one would have seen that coming. No one would have seen that coming. And let's imagine a world where Amazon and Google Wing push hard into drone deliveries, and the FCC or the FAA cracks down on hobbyist drone flight and starts enforcing like crazy fines. Everybody's getting fines for flying at a park. These are the kind of things that are seismic, tidal changes in the ecosystem and are very difficult to predict. So I think that some of those things will happen in the next 10 years, certainly 5 years, 2 years. And I think they'd be very difficult to predict. The good news is this. No matter what happens, there will still be some people. Remember, how did this hobby start? Somebody broke apart their Nintendo Wii nunchuck, took the gyro out of it, and stuck it on a quadcopter. That's true, if you didn't know that. Welcome to the hobby. You're new here. It started with people just cracking stuff, and the first flight controller was an Arduino. So that's still going to keep happening. People will still fly under the radar and probably get away with it. The hobby will still be there in some sense. It may not be as mainstream, or maybe it will be. I don't know. But I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. That's the answer. Let's see here. Is there any difference between the Fat Shark Recon V2 and V3? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Let's look. Let's look what they say about the Recon. I need to do a review of the Recon V3, but I've focused so much on the attitude that I haven't followed up on the Recon V3. What does it say about the Recon V3? Integrated 4-band 32-channel receiver, USB charging. Well, that's the same. I think they added, let's look at the V2 as well. Recon V2. 4-band 32-channel USB charging. That's all the same. Version 3 includes an onboard DVR. Didn't version 2 have a DVR? Yeah, version 2 had a DVR as well. 800 by 480. Improved screen. Looks like... What's WQVGA? Is it higher resolution? 800 by 480? What is it? Just please tell me the resolution. That's all I want. Oh my god. 360, yeah. So it's a higher resolution. The V3 has a higher resolution screen. And I'm not sure if they have an updated DVR. I know that the Scout has an improved DVR. It's one of the coolest things in the new Fat Shark goggles. Unfortunately, I don't think the Attitude V5 got the new DVR because it's the older design. But yeah, it looks like the Recon V3 definitely has a higher resolution screen, perhaps an improved DVR. Does it have diversity? Oh yeah, does the Recon V3 also have the diversity with the built-in patch antenna? Or is that just the Scout? No, no diversity. Oh well. 4.3 inch versus, doesn't say the size. Well, anyway, there you go. There you go. The Scout has diversity. Yeah, not the Recon. Oh, well. Do you think a new Crossfire module will be soon released? Asks Bob Men. Thank you for €5 donation. I don't know anything about that. Nope. I couldn't say. I'm not Trappy's favorite person to leak information to. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. Jerry Shackelford, thank you for $10 donation. As a reminder, guys, in case you didn't catch this, all the donations from this live stream are going to be, I'm going to be donating them to the Humane Society of Knoxville in memory of my cat who died this week. Jerry Shackelford, thanks for $10. As a beginner, it's all about stick time. What would you recommend? Motors and props for longer flight times on a 5-inch freestyle quad. The number one way to get longer flight times is to go to lower KV motors, lower RPM, and lower pitch props. So a 5x4.3 prop is going to give you longer flight time than a 5x4.8 or a 5x5 prop. A simple thing you can do to get longer flight time, Jerry, is use a throttle limit. I have a video about that. Jerry. It is, where is it? Dang it. The same keystroke that I use to switch scenes on my streaming software also switches tabs in my browser. It drives me crazy. I have that. So here is where you can do a throttle limit in Betaflight. Yeah, throttle scaling. I'll paste that in the chat for you there, Bob, or Jerry. And that's how, a simple thing you can do is just to scale yourself down. Of course, you'll get less power. That's the answer. Redneck FPV says he's waiting for the HDO2. Yeah, this is not me. It really isn't me, like, wink, wink. I don't know anything. But as I said earlier in the stream, after how quickly the Orca Kickstarter sold out at a price of $500, $600, whatever it was, if I were Fat Shark, I'd be looking at that and going, maybe I should release a goggle with a bigger screen. And if I were Fat Shark, I might already have been doing that for 6 months. Do you remember when the GoPro released the Karma drone? And then, like, the day after that, DJI released the Mavic. And just gutted the Karma because the Mavic was so much better. That's one of the coldest sort of cases of just corporate slaughter that I've ever seen. GoPro was like, here's the Karma. It's so good. It's so much better than the Phantom. And DJI was like, oh, funny you did that. Here's our new thing. We were just waiting for you to make your move. And I got to wonder if Fat Shark is doing the same thing with the Orca. If they're just sitting back looking and going, don't worry, we got something in our pocket. This is not like 3 weeks ago when I was teasing something. This really isn't. Where I said, you'll know when I actually know something because I won't actually tell you anything. If you hear me talking, then I don't actually know anything. Make a gif of that. So, yeah. Yeah. Adam wants to know, did I write the manual for the Kakute F7 or just the F4? And do I think the F7 is too much for freestyle? Well, Adam, I have the Kakute F7 in my perfect freestyle build. So, no, it seems like pretty good. I like it. Morg59 wants to know, will we always be able to fly under the tree line? I don't know, man. I don't know. Right now, as far as if you're not in Class G airspace, there is no minimum height under which you can fly, even if you're under the tree line. You have to be in an enclosed. Once you're in an enclosed space, then you're not. Then the FAA doesn't have you. So I've known guys. There are people out there who've built these giant netted areas, like huge netted areas with telephone poles, so that they can fly drones within like 2 miles of an airport without coming into the FAA. It seems obvious to me that if you're under a tree line, then airplanes are not relevant to you, but I don't think it's as obvious to the FAA that that's the case. Yep. Let's see here. What do we got here? What simulator for line of sight? Ooh, Dobiasek. What sim for line of sight? I don't know about that. Real flight? I don't know. Is it Real Flight, I guess? Is that a good one? It's a simulator that does line of sight. Is it good? I don't know. Does it have quadcopters? I don't know. I don't really know about that, actually. Sorry. I don't know a lot about line of sight. Christoph Zurada asks, do you keep lipos at storage and charge them before flying, or just keep them fully charged all the time? Now, if you keep them fully charged all the time, you will damage them. It's cumulative damage. So the longer they are at full charge, the more they degrade. It's slow, but eventually you will. I mean, if you just leave them charged all the time, then over the course of 1 or 2 months, there will be noticeable degradation. Maybe only 5 or 10% reduction in performance, but it'll be there. So I definitely keep them at storage. Definitely, if I can. Steve Maslish points out Velocidrone has line of sight tutorials as well. Yeah, Liftoff and Velocidrone, they do line of sight. That's just not really their focus. So for example, one of the things about a line of sight simulator is it's very important to be able to configure how the camera focuses on the drone, because your eyes, it's very easy when you're doing line of sight in a simulator for the drone to get so small you can't even see it, whereas in real life you would be able to see it. So like a simulator like Real Flight will have the ability to have like a picture-in-picture zoomed-in view of the drone. When I was flying line of sight briefly, I found that simulators that focused on FPV tended to do a bad job at line of sight. Even if they had a line of sight camera, it didn't do a good job of actually sort of focusing on and showing you what the drones are doing. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or false for Velocidrone, Liftoff, whatever, because I don't really fly line of sight. License to Drive says, my e-bike battery's kept fully charged 2 years now and it needs replacing. Well, if you get 2 years out of your quadcopter batteries, you're doing pretty well. That's the flip side. I mean, the thing is, if you fly every other day, then yeah, keep them charged because you're cycling them, right? But you'll wear them out from using them before you wear them out from keeping them charged. But if you fly once a week or once a month, definitely put them to storage. What does a poofy lipo mean? Asks Chiefs Helot. It's bad. It means it's worn out. It's probably going to perform badly. Has high internal resistance. Let's see here. Checking out the Discord here. Different rules in Canada and Europe for how you can fly. I mean, it would be great if you would say, if you are 25 feet over the nearest tree or whatever, or if they would designate areas where it's just obvious because of the presence of trees and buildings that an airplane won't be flying there. But that's just not how the airspace works. We just don't have priority in the airspace. The other problem that I have with that is that, like, if you were to say, this park has trees, you may fly here. Some jackass would go 200 feet above the trees, and then people would be like, oh, I thought I was under the tree line. And it's really tough. It's tough, this clash of what seems like it should be obviously recreational and irrelevant with, like, the existing infrastructure of the airspace. It's weird. It's weird. DJ Pop wants to know if he could use a 5,000 milliamp hour 3S, like 9-inch or big wing. I mean, I guess the question, DJ Pop, is what would the weight be and how would the center of gravity be on the wing? You got to get the center of mass right on the wing. With a big heavy battery like that, I mean, Depends on the size of the wing. There are a 5,000 milliamp hour 3S. There are some longer distance flyers, bigger planes that would use a battery like that for sure. But every time I've ever tried to build a plane around a battery, like you go, well, I've got these batteries. Let's try to pick a motor and prop that fits them. You end up, you should pick the battery to fit the airframe and the electronics, not the other way around. You end up making too many compromises. You end up with an overweight plane or a plane with a bad CG, or you end up with an inefficient motor because you had to KV it down or up, and it just ends up being a mess. So just suck it up and buy the right battery. That's my opinion. Shadow FPV asks in the Discord, can you use a parallel board to bring batteries to storage? Yep, you absolutely can. When you put batteries in parallel, they essentially become one big battery, and you can do whatever with them that you could do with one big battery. So you can charge them, you can discharge them, you could storage them. Just follow the safety recommendations when you're plugging them in. Yeah, DU4 FPV says they removed the circle around my local airport, maybe because they opened it for skydiving. I don't know. It bugs the crap out of me when you look at the apps that show where you're allowed to fly. It bugs the crap out of me because there's like some farmer has a dirt field runway, and suddenly, 5-mile radius. And it's like, for real, like just every little possible place a plane or helicopter might possibly land gets marked as a runway, and you're like, it just doesn't seem right. But what are you going to do? Rob Dog can't get Smart Audio 2.1 working. The problem is that Betaflight doesn't. I think Betaflight 4.1 will have support for Smart Audio 2.1, but until then, I don't think it supports it, Rob Dog. Some people have told me that if you use soft serial, that Smart Audio will work, but if you're using a hardware UART, that it doesn't work. I haven't confirmed that, but it's worth a try. The other thing you can do is you can connect Smart Audio directly to the Crossfire receiver, and you can use the Crossfire Lewis script or the Crossfire module to adjust it, but not the Betaflight OSD. Let's see. Nighthawk Steel says, one of my motors started screeching after I crashed my Marmot. They only do this while flying. I changed all the props and motors since there's no visible damage on the frame. What could be the issue? So you changed the props and the motors for brand new motors, and it still does it? Interesting. I mean, if you change the motors, then it's not a broken motor, but it started doing it after you crashed, so something broke. If I were you, Nighthawk Steel, I would find a way to restrain the quad and try spinning the motors one by one. Here's what I would do, Nighthawk Steel. Put the quad in turtle mode, right? So the motors reverse directions. And use turtle mode to spin the motors and see if you can isolate which motor is the one screaming or if they're all doing it. Putting the quad into turtle mode is a great way to test the motors without having to like strap the quad down because the motors push downward and only 2 of them spin at a time. Kyle K points out you can use soft serial on a real UART. That is true. You can remap. You cannot remap UART 6 to some other pad. You can't move a hardware UART off of its pad. That doesn't work. But you can usually remap an unused UART pin to another function. So let's say you've got RX3 is being used for SBus. TX3 could be remapped to soft serial and used for Smart Audio. That's a great way to, especially if you have an F7 processor with a lot, which tends to break out all the different UARTs. If you like, let's say you're using LED strip, right? So you have LEDs. So typically, if I needed to remap a pad for something, I would use LED strip. But if you're using that, you could use an unused UART TX or RX pad, and oftentimes you have one of those free. The next place I would go with the screaming motors is probably the ESC, unfortunately. Since you replaced the motors, it's probably not one of the motors, so it's probably the ESC. Skadoosh says, when I was in Orlando, Tack and I flew right next to the airport with police presence. They gave no Fs. We just flew responsibly. Skadoosh, there is a location, if you're talking about Moss Draggers is right near the airport, but it's been designated as an AMA field or whatever. That's what the local guys told us. And you actually have permission from the FAA to fly there. We were really skeptical of that because we were like, I know the locals fly here all the time, but you're literally a half mile from the airport. We were like, well, the locals might fly here, but if Rotor Riot shoots an episode here, everybody's going to be totally up our butts. But everybody said, no. It's not just that the locals do it and get away with it. There's actually an officially designated AMA field there, and you're allowed to fly there as long as you stay below a certain altitude. We verified that, and it was, in fact, true. So, I mean, yeah. But let's be clear. Just because a certain police officer gives no flips doesn't mean it's actually that the FAA would give no flips. So, you gotta be really careful. Let's see here. Any PID recommendations for a preset for a 4-inch quad with Betaflight 4? What I would do is I would go to the Betaflight community presets page here on the Betaflight wiki and look for a preset that seems to fit what I'm looking for. So let's just search for 4-inch. Well, no 4 inches. What about 4-inch? Nope. So there are no 4-inch presets here. A lot of people don't seem to be flying 4-inch. They're flying 5-inch or 3-inch, but not 4-inch. I suppose I would probably... I might be like looking for these 3-inch quad motors, or maybe just start with the 5-inch presets. That's what I would do. Anytime you're looking for presets, though, definitely check out this GitHub page with the community presets. Okay, great place to start. Pawan BS says, I've installed the Kakute F7 and my core temp are going crazy. The moment I plug in, it starts at 75 degrees and reaches 100 degrees. Pawan, you probably don't need to worry about this. I just turn the core temp warning off in my OSD tab. I don't care. Just fly. As soon as you start flying, as soon as the props are spinning, it should cool down. I have noticed that some flight controllers seem to give core temp warning, but just turn core temp warning off and it never seems to be an issue for me. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why it's doing that, though. I mean, in theory, if you had a short circuit, it would be... if it was damaged, that could be happening, but it's probably not. I also have gotten core temp warnings on the Kakute, and I just turn the warning off, and that's the end of it. Phil Edwards says, did you notice the difference in DVR quality on the Attitude V5 versus the Scout? Seems pretty obvious in Rotor Riot's vid. Yeah, the Scout has a new DVR, which has much, much better image quality than the older DVR. So this video that I actually showed you earlier... What do you mean? What do you mean? Of course you can open it. Give me a break. Oh, now you're off screen. Really? How do you... Oh... How do you... Oh... Why is it... Don't do... Why? It's... How do you fix this, guys, where your thing is off screen? Oh my god, for real? Psh. Okay. Well, I can't show you this. Hold on. What if I open with a different player? There we go. Yeah, my VLC has gotten messed up. Go over here. Yeah, this right here, what you're looking at, I need to mute it, is the new DVR that's in the Scout. So this image quality that you're seeing, now bear in mind you're watching it through a stream, so the image is getting mangled. But I think you would agree this is far better image quality than the traditional Fat Shark DVR, which is just pretty garbage. I mean, it's not the worst. It's better than nothing. But this is way better. And this is the DVR that's in the Scout. I actually used it to record this sample flight. It's a big improvement. Right now, my gold standard for DVR, for FPV DVR, is the Lumineer DX100 DVR. That's this DX600. My bad. DX600. There it is. This is the DVR I use when I'm recording. I don't use the Fat Shark DVR because it goes out of sync with the audio. When you get frame glitching, it drops frames and then it goes out of sync. This DVR never goes out of sync, so if you start the DVR, it'll stay in sync with your GoPro, and it records local audio. So I can talk while I'm flying, and it will record my talking as well. I mean, I don't have mics on any of my quads, so it's just crackling. Now it's $100 freaking. So like most people are not going to go to this length to get good quality DVR, but for somebody who's doing production like me, it's a good investment. It's the DX600 DVR from Lumineer. Fat Shark has the same DVR. It's not the same, sorry. Fat Shark has an improved DVR in the Scout that I think is on par with the DX600, but it doesn't record local audio, I don't think. So let's see here. Click app and maximize. I tried that, but it didn't work, UAV Tech. Look, see? Click, and where's maximize? It's not there. Where is it? And if I right click here, nope. Where is it? How do you maximize? And I'm trying window key up and it's not working either. Alt space. Okay, let's try alt. Hang on. Alt space. Ah! Oh yeah. No, it's not working. Alt space. Oh, I got it. Yay! Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. Yeah, the Fat Shark DVR in the attitudes and other goggles Fat Shark has always said it's there for like finding your lost quad, but not there for like image quality. So fortunately, they seem to have changed their tune with the Scout, but it doesn't seem to be rolling back into the older goggles. So that's unfortunate. Have I flown a 6-inch before? Asks Flowy FPV. I have flown. I have a video about 6-inch freestyle. You can find it on my channel. Joshua Bardwell 6-inch freestyle. Yep, I have a video here where I talk about 6-inch freestyle. Here it is. There it is. Team Scream in the Discord asks, I have a tune that works great on my quad, but I'm struggling a bit with getting the gyros to track the set point, so there are slight wobbles. What settings do you adjust to get the gyros to track the set point better? Well, Team Scream, I'm going to assume that you're using a tool like Plasma Tree or PID Toolbox to see how your gyro is tracking your set point. The exact thing you need to adjust will depend on what the gyro is doing wrong. So, for example, if the rise time is too slow, adding some feed forward or maybe increasing P gain would help with that. If you're getting overshoot and oscillation, you may need to lower P or add D. Saying your gyro is not tracking your set point is like saying my PID 2 needs to be improved, but that what you need to change depends on the exact way that it's not tracking. I strongly recommend anybody who is working with Plasma Tree or PID Toolbox or doing really in-depth PID tuning, check out UAV Tech's channel, Mark Spatz. He's actually in the chat right now, chatting everybody up. He does a lot of analysis of Plasma Tree, PID Toolbox, and really in-depth PID tuning. My PID tuning largely amounts to I fly the quad. If it does something I don't like, I tweak it. But I seldom am digging deep in black box to try and just get the absolute perfect tracking. I'd much rather just be flying these days. So Guillermo Nesbolo points out Albert Kim uses a DVR on the micros that's really good. It's $12. What is it, Guillermo? Yeah, so Team Scream, here's the thing. What you want to be looking at is not this. You don't want to be looking at this. This is something, but the tool you really want is PID Toolbox. This is what you really want, PID Toolbox. And in fact, UAV Tech has a video about PID Toolbox. I actually watched almost the whole video. This video is what you want to be looking at, Team Scream. You want to get this tool because it can tell you more about... My bad. Wrong channel. My bad. It could tell you more about what exactly is going on with your set point than just looking at one particular example in Black Box. License to Drive says Kebab FPV doesn't PID tune 5-inch quads anymore. Just relies on well-spec'd hardware and the default PIDs. It is true. I have, for the longest time, I've been saying that if you have a good solid build with good quality hardware, then PID tuning is barely necessary at all. And that is more true today than it ever has. The default PIDs have gotten better and better. It's one of the reasons that when I first started, I was super interested in PID tuning. Because here's the thing. 4 years ago when I started flying, hardware sucked and PID controllers sucked. So if you wanted good performance, you had to work. You had to get good hardware, do a good build, and tweak the crap out of the PID controller. And then you had to be a great pilot on top of that, and maybe you would get something that looked decent. Today, if you have good quality hardware and you put Betaflight 4.0 on it, especially if it's a 5-inch, just the defaults should fly great. At which point I'm like, what's my motivation to try and to go fly and have fun, you know? So, yeah, I'm with you there. The people who need PID tuning the most are people who don't have access to great hardware. Even mediocre hardware can be pretty good. Or people who aren't good builders. A lot of times people who are trying to solve problems with their quad that they think are the result of PIDs are actually the result of something wrong with their build. And it's tough because when somebody says, you know, why does what PIDs should I change to fix this problem? You can't come back to them and go, you suck at building. That's not cool. Because number one, that doesn't help them. It doesn't help them fix their problem and make their quad fly better. But a lot of times the answer is you could solve this with hours and hours of PID tuning, or you could just be, you know, like fix that ESC that's broken or that bad solder joint that I can't see because I'm not there. It's tough. It's tough. Here's the DVR that Albert Kim is said to use on his micros. HM DVR. I also use this. I actually have a decased version of this exact same DVR that I use on my camera testing drone. So I can do local recording of the camera without having to have a bunch of breakup in my image. Kantek Goodski wants to know, can I use the FreeSky X9 Lite on Tiny Whoops? I'm thinking about the Tiny Hawk S. Kantek, the Tiny Hawk S is a D8 receiver, and as of today, it does not work with the new Access radios. I've heard rumors that that is coming via firmware update, but as of today, I don't think it works. Is any peripheral port capable of soft serial? Trying the buzzer port on my F3. No, Kevin Matern, the buzzer plus pad is just 5 volts. It's just a 5-volt output. And the buzzer minus has a transistor buffer on it to help it soak the current from the buzzer. And as a result, it can't be repurposed into a generic I/O port. So the buzzer will not work. Chris Edwards says, I'm wearing $600-pound goggles with a 120-pound transmitter and a $200 transmitter flying a 300-pound quad. I'm nervous about being a potential target for street crime. I agree. You're standing there. You've got goggles on your head. You have no situational awareness. You absolutely are at risk for being mugged. Somebody could come up, hit you over the head without you ever knowing. If that's a risk, then you need to find a way to mitigate that risk. If you're in a sketchy area, and let's face it, sometimes we fly in sketchy areas, That's where the bandos are. Some of us just live in sketchy areas, and if you want to fly anywhere, you're going to fly somewhere sketchy. So, okay. So if you accept that you're going to fly in a sketchy area, the best thing you can do is have friends. Have like 4 or 5 other guys with you, or at least one guy who doesn't have his goggles on and is going to help you know if a problem is about to happen. But it's true. The good news is that your stuff is like, it's not like you're walking around with a new iPhone that's just or a laptop that's an obvious, you got this weird FPV gear. It's not like somebody's going to be able to just easily pawn it. So it's a risk. Good to have a spotter anyways. Steve Alexander, carry a concealed pistol. Second Amendment is your friend. Not everyone lives in the United States, Steve, number one. He said he has carrying a 600-pound goggles. I'm assuming he lives in the UK. Maybe you should carry a concealed knife. The bottom line, Steve, is if you have a pistol in your pocket and you have your goggles on your head, Steve, you and I, like, what do they teach you in concealed carry classes? What do they teach you in tactical whatever BS classes? The very first thing you need is situational awareness. The very first thing you need is to be ahead of the curve. You need to be in condition yellow. Are you in condition yellow when you have your goggles on? No, you are in condition white. You don't know anything. You have no situational awareness. So if you've got a pistol in your holster or whatever, and you're flying your goggles with no spot, you're flying your quad with no spotter, that pistol is useless to you, because anyone who wants to mug you is just going to come up and hit you in the back of the head with something, and you will never see them coming. So I'm not going to get into the debate over, oh, is it better or worse to have a gun? That's a political, and I try and keep that stuff out of my streams. But practically speaking, if you have your goggles on and you don't have a spotter, you are definitely at a higher risk of being, if you're in an area where that's a problem. So, yeah, have your friend have a gun. There you go. That's good. Right. She's denying Ian says, yeah, though, and then when they knock you out, they get a free gun in addition to all your FPV gear. Yeah, okay. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. FPV gives you remote viewing capability. Yeah, if you're watching. If you're watching. If someone, yeah, Avalet FPV, if someone comes near me, I fly over and around myself. I think that's good as well. I do agree. Okay, get a dog, get a carry permit. Yeah. Okay. You know what you could do? Honestly, what you could do, if you really felt like you were in an area where you might be a little risky, is sit in your car, lock the doors, windows up. Something to, I mean, assuming you have a car. Sit in your car, lock the doors, windows up. It's one step further, and I mean, at the very least, somebody's going to knock on the window or break the window to get at you. It's a little bit, yeah. Alrighty. There you go. We are coming to the end of the stream here. Is access protocol coming to the X9D? Smertrius. FreeSky originally said that access protocol would come to some of the other radios. The people have told me that the hardware is identical. The chipset is identical between the access radios and the older non-access radios. So there is no reason why an X9D couldn't support access if the firmware was released for it. FreeSky originally suggested they were going to do that, but they haven't done it yet. I think it's likely. I think FreeSky wants you on access protocol more than they want you to buy a new radio. So I think it's likely that FreeSky will release access protocol firmware for the older radios, but I don't know if that's been actually confirmed. Yeah, 507 says, I fly from my car to hide from bugs anyway. Good point. Snapshot Hotshot, if I'm in my car, what antenna extension can I use? Don't. Just have especially if you have Crossfire, get plenty of control link range, and your video, if you're at 800, 500 milliwatts, you're fine. You'll get a little reduction in range. It's not as big a deal as you think. Don't worry about an antenna extension. When it's cold here in the winter, we commonly sit in our car in the nice warmth and we fly. The video is just a little worse, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, guys, we're gonna close up the stream. It's 5 minutes early, but I don't know if you noticed, I started the stream by drinking this big cup of coffee, and now we're going to end the stream with me scuttling out of here with my knees squeezed together. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. What the hell? That's a new one. Click here, click here. No, hide user on this channel. More spam. We're going to finish up this stream. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for all your donations to the Humane Society of Knoxville in memory of, where is it? In memory of my poor cat. That's going to do it. Look for more stuff. I'll be getting back. I've been a little bit off my rhythm this week because, well, you know, I had a pet die. I'm sure if you've had that happen, you know, it kind of messes you up a little bit. But hopefully getting a little bit back in the rhythm. The weather will hopefully be a little nicer this week. We'll be able to get some flying in. Thank you guys so much. We will be doing another stream. We will be doing another stream Monday, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That stream is on, and that's going to do it for this one, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy flying. Boom.